सुहाना यहाँ कल क्या हो किसने जाना ओ जिंदगी एक सफर है सुहाना यहाँ कल क्या हो किसने जाना चांद तारों से चलना है
Love
आगे
takes shapes in many
आसमानों से
different shapes
बढ़ना
and
है
forms,
आगे पीछे रह
and
जाएगा
we were
ये
trying to
जमाना
find
यहाँ कल क्या हो किसने जाना
a situation
ओ जिंदगी एक
where
सफर
we
है
understand
सुहाना
love a bit better, I think.
यहाँ कल क्या हो किसने जाना
So, Love Unspoken is another piece of theatre directed at the South Asian diaspora in the UK, mainly, because I felt that we weren't reaching out to them. So I started to consider how we could do it. So we did some research, we went up and down the country, we found groups, because most people are not living in care homes, they're living in the community. So we found groups, we talked to them about dementia, and we also talked to them about this show and the potential of getting involved in the show, because I had this crazy idea that maybe some people might like to perform alongside us, carers and those living with dementia. It's not been an easy journey. I think it's going to be quite a tough call, because we're trying to do lots of things. First, we're reaching out to people in the community, then we're wanting people to come into the space, a theatre space, to do a show, and then we also want them to work with a medium that they don't normally work with, and that's theatre. So it's part of a trilogy of work that we're doing, and it's the final part of that dementia trilogy. The first two were Once Upon a Time and then The Garden. So this is, I keep saying it's the final part, but everyone keeps saying it's the beginning of something else. So we'll see.
The process in this particular performance was quite open, I should say, and it was like coming to the space, playing, seeing what happens in this situation, and just playing, a lot of playing, and through that we developed a story and a structure, and it just happened, which I guess is a great way of working. I love it.
So, you know, to have found Carly, amazing, Tyre, who I'd worked with and done research and I know for a long, long time, Magdalene, who's come aboard to do the designing of the piece, and then Paul, who's lately come into the process. But previously I also worked with Bishaka Saka and Maria Gumrasi as well, in order to kind of do some of the research around the dance and movement as well. So over the last couple of weeks, we've brought all that thinking and those ideas into a rehearsal space, and just played with those ideas and see where it would take us. And just to explore love in its many facets, you know, love sometimes which is very romantic, love that can be fraught with conflict as well, love that's passionate, love that is indescribable. It's really about how we can touch them with this theme, how we can involve them in the arts as well, because you know there's 25,000 people apparently in this country from BAME communities, and they're not really being touched by the arts or the health and well-being agendas. So that's really who we're aiming to reach out to. So with that said, and some of the groups that we're working with, so I've recently discovered, we're in Havering, and there's a group, an Asian group here. They're called Hazwa, and they're lovely. And they are just natural wordsmiths. There's poetry amongst them, there's song amongst them. And so as soon as we started to talk about the theme of love, the very powerful, evocative poetry came out.
So we've spent the last couple of weeks, Arti, Kali and Tyre doing a lot of R&D, and me working with them, getting a kind of arch of some ideas we want to play with, to do with notions of love. And one of the things that interests me is that it's largely improvised, and it's a largely responsive show. So it's about bringing people from isolated communities, people with dementia and other interacting difficulties, into a performance space. Arti's doing something different. This is actually real ensemble work. So, and she said several, I'm used to being invited into a space, but actually not really invited as a musician. You kind of, especially when you work with actors, they actually want you to be seen on the stage occasionally, but not really. And she keeps saying to me, no, there's 3 of us in the show, there's 3 of us in the show, it's not 2 of us, there's 3 of us. And that's quite interesting, because it's actually something that feels more natural for me, but I've done so much of the other stuff that I have to kind of keep reminding. It's like going, oh no, it's okay, I can be here.
Because we spend a lot of time not just in the space, outside, having lunch together, talking and exchanging stories, ideas, personal experiences. We've been quite open to each other, so that helped. And now, I think after the 2 weeks, we're quite comfortable with each other. So yeah, and we trust each other.
I think it's a lovely project, and it's interesting how carefully we've had to build partners around it. So partners with the venues, because this show, a decision's been made that this show doesn't go into care homes, because there's not many South Asian people in care homes, and that's my target audience. So if it was going to go into the communities, where do we take it? And I wanted it not to just go into community centres or venues, but I wanted it to be in somewhere special, and to maybe bring these new audiences, or audiences that don't normally go into theatres, into these spaces. So I think that's been an interesting journey, to kind of work with venues up and down the country and just open them up to the idea of a project like this.
सुभाना सबल